What is up, guys? Frosty Aussie0232 here today for another Frosty Features. So, today we have another member of our Cabal team, the infamous Hulk arch-enemy, debatably. He likes to think so, the Leader. So, what this is, if you haven't been here before, what this is a comic book background on the tunes that you use in Marvel Strike Force, and I am your humble guide. So, let us hop in. Starting off, according to Scopely. So, this is the blog post description of the character coming to the game, actually in the game right now. Not free-to-play players yet, but soon, I hope. So, this is what they had to say about the character. We will rate this description at the end of the feature. So, Samuel Stearns dropped out of school and found work in the U.S. government research facility. There, an unfortunate incident caused his body to be exposed to an immense amount of gamma radiation, which sparked a significant transformation. Stearns became obsessed with knowledge, and his brain grew at a rate faster than any human had ever experienced, leading to a massive cranium. Fed up with the government's corruption, he abandoned his former self and became the Leader, determined to take control of the human race to forcibly ensure a brighter future. So, like I said, we will rate that at the end, but this is my description of the situation. So here we are. This is our man of the day, the Leader. The Leader has gone through many different design changes throughout. Pretty much every single artist that draws him differently. That's probably for the best. I feel like this is one of the funkiest designs, but it's hilarious and I like it. So there we go. Name: Samuel Stearns. First appearance, Tales to Astonish number 62 in 1964. And if you bother to go back and check this issue out, he's just a regular dude. He looks completely normal at that time. Yes. Powers: super intellect, telepathy, telekinesis, and mental transference. These are very important to keep in consideration. Pretty much every gamma monster, so the Leader, as stated in Scopely's blog post, the Leader is a gamma monster, is a gamma person. The gamma radiated people typically are known for their immense strengths or immense powers from the gamma, so, you know, beams, but typically it's strength. In his situation, his strength is higher than that of a regular human being, superhuman minus, I would say. So he is super strong to an extent, but not to a point where I've decided to shout it out in the powers and abilities. But he has the potential to be the smartest character in the Marvel Universe. He is not, though. I think it really comes down to the fact that he's a villain and it's how it's written. But essentially, the idea is that his intellect is equal to that of Hulk's strength, which means his intellect should be near infinite. And we'll talk about it later, but his intellect is so high that he's able to ascend himself. But he's also still not considered to be one of the top 10 of the smartest in the Marvel Universe. Sometimes maybe he might make the list, but ultimately with this character, there's a lot of swing back and forth. Also, for a character that's been around for as long as he is and is as popular as he is, he really isn't in as much as you would think. And I think it's because a lot of writers have trouble with it. Hulk comics have a problem with being very much like, big guy with muscles, fight big guy with muscles. That's the whole arc, right? So when the Leader comes in, they have to think a little bit more, and it becomes, because the Leader really appeals / fights Bruce Banner, right? The Leader is here to match wits. He sees Hulk as another person at his level, so he so that's why they're rivals in the Leader's mind. Whereas I feel like most people, when they think of the Hulk, Abomination comes up, and it's because it's Brawn versus Brawn. But the Leader he plays the long game, and he very much uses the Hulk as a weapon a lot of the time, because of how strategic he can be. Because of his immense intellectual prowess, he also has the power for telepathy and low-grade telekinesis. And he also has a mental transference power that's not exactly described, but more or less, it comes up a lot. He transfers his consciousness into other people's bodies, and he can act as he's acting as those people as the leader. So it's not really mind control. He's more possessing them. He's fully putting his awareness into somebody else's body and using it. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we get to notable events. But there is a point where he dies and he comes back as one of his followers as well. Aliases. He's pretty much the leader. Samuel Sterney, as the blog post described, he gave up his name and he started going by the leader. There's a situation, especially when he's joined the Thunderbolts and he becomes the Red Leader in an attempt to get his powers back. The thing with the leader is his plans always they always end up in two ways. He dies or he loses his powers. He dies or he loses his powers, or maybe he'll die or even loses powers, right? So, in attempting to get his powers back on one occasion, he becomes the Red Leader. There was a really fun stint in comics where every Gamma being ever, that's an exaggeration, but a bunch of Gamma beings became the Red version. So we had Red She-Hulk, we obviously had Red Hulk, we had Red Leader, etc. We've been doing that a lot in the last 10 years with different Marvel characters. So, the only other alias is Red Leader. All that to say. Up next, affiliations. The Intelligentsia. If you go back to Frosty Features Red Hulk, we talk about the Intelligentsia a lot. And actually, somehow, and having almost 100 of these, the only time we spoke about the leader, I believe, in Frosty Features so far until now was the Red Hulk feature. So definitely check that out. We talked about the Intelligentsia in totality, I believe, so I'm not going to bring it up on this one. And then of course the Thunderbolts we talked about. He's got a couple other ones, but those are the main ones. Background, Boise, Idaho. So he's an Idahoan. Yes, so he was a regular Joe. He was the more or less disgrace of his family. His younger brother was considered to be the favorite. And so he moved away from his family and started working at this this chemical plant. And in getting a barrel of gamma waste he's trying to take it to a basement, and the waste busts open and he takes a bath in it on accident, and all of a sudden he realizes that this is where he makes his transformation. But he doesn't actually transform here, which that's kind of the crazy part. A lot of the Gamma people, they get hit with, typically it's like a Gamma bomb. And we'll talk about Gamma bombs a little bit later. But essentially that's what, the way Bruce Banner's Hulk came about was essentially the Gamma tests and machinery he was working with became a Gamma bomb. And that's how it released the Hulk. In the leader's case, he gets doused with just gamma waste essentially and is exposed to gamma radiation thusly, but he comes away looking like a regular dude. This is something that we need to keep in consideration. He's looking normal at first, but then he realizes he has like a hunger for knowledge, and essentially the way I perceive it, because a hunger for knowledge makes it sound like, well, I just want to read a book really bad. Especially because we're talking about Immortal Hulk. Immortal Hulk's his, like, I think as of the recording date, it's the most recent run with the leader in it a lot. You see it physically manifest as an actual kind of hunger almost. And it's implied that it all could have been just like a mental thing, because like I said, he plays the telepathic mental telekinesis stuff a lot. So anyway, I do think it manifests as an actual hunger. So ultimately it's not like, oh man, I really want to read a book, but I'm busy. I feel like he almost needs it. I feel like this might be one of the first Frosty features where I'm kind of putting my interpretation into the character. But I believe that he actually factually hungers for knowledge. But he likes that. So he's a regular dude still looking, it's the 60s, so he's a white dude. And he's reading through these books one after another, and he's reading it and he's remembering everything, because part of this, his skill change is that he got essentially a photographic memory. He can recall things. He can recall every single moment since his accident, right? Except for when he dies, and we'll talk about that too. But so as he's reading, his head starts to expand and his skin turns green, right? So as essentially, as he fills his brain with knowledge, he mutates more and more and more, which is also one of the reasons why when you look at different arcs with the leader in it, he looks different. There's different artist depictions played a lot different. So sometimes you see the straight up head and it's just, you can see his skull like in this version. Other times you see it more bulbous and you see like his brain. Who died? You can't be a superhero, supervillain without somebody dying. Essentially, it was Samuel Stearns. After he had his accident, he decided that, this is a bit of a cop-out, I know. Nobody actually died for him to become the leader, but as he mutated and became green or whatever, he kills Samuel Stearns. He's like, I'm only going to be the leader from here on out. Samuel Stearns has to die for the leader to exist. Here it is. And then Samuel Stearns always gets resurrected when the leader loses his powers. So he's Samuel when he's not green, essentially. Very much like Bruce Banner and the Hulk and all the other Gamma people. They all have a that second kind of person. In this situation, he's much more intelligent, so his aims change. So he goes essentially from just, essentially wanting to be better than his brother to becoming this guy who wants to take over the planet, take over the universe, and ultimately the leader's goal is to become a god because of how smart he is. He thinks he should be. Being intelligent apparently also comes with entitlement. The tech genius. So as I said, he has super strength, but like, lowercase s. So with this, what he does is he creates weaponry and things. And I've talked about Forge. I've talked about Iron Man a few times. These are people that create amazing tech feats. The leader does this on an equal level, but you don't hear the leader talked about in that regard with these people. You don't even hear him really compared to Reed Richards often, right? I've done it already, but I don't. Ultimately, what I'm trying to say is, I, as a member of the comic book community, and I'm always around different things, I don't hear about the leader like I hear about everything else when it comes to putting tech together and things like this. But his thing is, he's planning so far ahead, and he's building things to help supplement his plans, right? So he builds these guys called the humanoids, and they are essentially a robot designed to fight the Hulk. And what it is they take... they're essentially a form of like bendable plastic. So when you punch them, the physical force kind of bounces back off of them. So if you just try to physically wail them down, they won't break, right? Which is the perfect counter to Hulk, right? So, and he's made like an army of these things. So one of these alone can't physically beat the Hulk. Multiple can, right? So Hulk can't necessarily take one out very easily by himself because all he has is brute force. But when there's multiple, they can actually incapacitate and detain the Hulk. This is Savage Hulk. Devil Hulk would probably just rip them apart, because that's sort of the thing, right? You have to get a hold of them and rip them. But they're good fighters, and we even see people like Iron Man or Thor struggle with these. So it's not just Hulk that has trouble with these. And this is just a thing he threw together, and he made a bunch of them, right? He's got an army. Outside of that, we also see him build... Actually, let's move on real quick. Yeah, so with that, his unknown capacity of knowledge, he can build anything that he kind of thinks to. He studies into a thing, he becomes an expert, and essentially he can keep going. But depending on the artist and the writer, his head might keep expanding. And also another comment on the tech genius part, we also see him develop a lot of rays. He's a big, especially, once again, 60s, every enemy had laser rays to, plot points. So a lot of what he uses are different rays, lasers, guns, things like that do crazy things, disintegration, what have you. But he is one of the first people in the Marvel Universe to perfect resurrection. So he does make a resurrection ray, which is one of the ways he gets away with. A lot of his planning ahead includes his death. So he plans on coming back, or he plans on doing this to get out of death, etc. He's kind of a crazy dude, as most supervillains are in the Marvel Universe, of course. Relationships. We don't see a lot of relationships. He's got some distant relatives, but most notably Philip Stearns being his brother that he feels like he is overshadowed by really heavily in the beginnings of his stories. And then his ex-lover, Dr. Aliana Alba. This is a short-lived thing, and it ends right before the main story arc I wanted to talk about today. So I wanted to point her out. He doesn't have a whole bunch. He very much is a loner. He doesn't have a bunch of stuff he does with other people. I say that I spoke wrong. He recruits a lot of other people to do his bidding because he is hyper intelligent. But these are people that simply work for him. These are not people he develops relationships with. So it's kind of because even a character that has been around since the 60s not being affiliated with a whole bunch of different teams is rare, right? The leader is the exception, right? So we need to keep that in mind. Okay, so notable events. Keeping the title. As I said, pretty much all of his stuff is him losing the power, gaining the power, losing the power, gaining the power, right? So after he becomes the leader the first time, he realized after a while, some time has passed, he realizes that slowly he is losing his intelligence, he is losing his powers, etc. And eventually he loses them all the way. So he becomes back to a regular freaking person. And he's like, well, I'm a regular dude now. I don't know what to do. I'm in New Mexico because that's where all the Gamma people tend to congregate. I'm just going to become a coroner's assistant and I'm just going to live my freaking life. I'm not going to become a god. I'm just going to be a dude and I need to pay my bills, right? I'm just going to be Samuel Stearns. And he more or less gives up. But fate would have it. On one fateful day, General Thunderbolt Ross would bite the big one for the first time while fighting Zax. I don't know how to say it. It's the giant electric guy. He gets electrocuted and he's dead, right? So in fighting Zax, he dies, and lo and behold, his partner gets the call and is like, "Hey, we need to come get General Ross over here by all this Gamma stuff over at Bruce Banner's lab because he's dead," right? And so the coroner's assistant Samuel Stearns and the coroner go to get this situation, and Samuel Stearns is like, "I've got a gun," bang, and he kills his partner and he goes on his own. So because he's hoping to get there and see if there's a way for him to get his goals, because his main goal as a regular person, he's like, yes, I'm going to be a regular person. I don't know where to get gamma radiation. Now he's like, oh, I'm going to Bruce Banner's lab. There's a lot of gamma equipment there. I'm going to get all sorts of radiation. Bang, right? So he goes and he runs up in there and just to find that the Hulk has destroyed the lab. There's nothing there for him to use, but he has run into the Gray Hulk. So a big thing to note, especially with the leader, is that the Hulk has a lot of different personalities, not just one, right? So the Hulk kind of started off as this Jekyll and Hyde situation. We have a very smart scientist and he turns into an evil monster, and the evil monster kills things. But essentially what Marvel was trying to do is like, hey, what happens if I point the evil monster at something bad, right? What if the evil monster is the hero, right? But he goes back and forth. So the Hulk at this time, so there's different versions of the Hulk that fight within his brain. We've got Savage Hulk, Devil Hulk, Joe Fixit. I feel like you've also heard of Professor Hulk, I'm sure. There's also a merged Hulk, which is Gray Hulk and Savage Hulk mixed together. So Savage Hulk is the one with the IQ of a 5-year-old. That's going to become really important a little bit later. Ultimately, at this time, we first see Gray Hulk, which is the in-between of Bruce Banner and Savage Hulk. So it is a weaker Hulk, weaker. They all infinitely scale, but baseline is weaker. And this is the one that eventually this one parallels Joe Fixit, which is the gangster Hulk. And Joe Fixit's also gray. So that we see Samuel Stern runs into Gray Hulk, and he's like, "Hey, guy, you know who else is hulking out right now? Rick Jones." For those of you, the MCU has left Rick Jones out, and he's obviously not in this game, but for those of you that are not in the comic book community, Rick Jones is the guy. He's one of my favorite guys to talk about as far as comic books concerned. Rick Jones, he's Bruce Banner's best friend originally, but if you follow Rick Jones's life, he more or less has gotten every superpower ever, at least once. So at this time, Rick Jones is a Hulk. He's another green Hulk. He's got more control than Banner does. But Samuel Stearns is like, hey, Rick Jones is running around as a Hulk, right? Gray Hulk? Tell you what. You know how you have to deal with that annoying Bruce Banner? If you get me Rick Jones and you put him on this table here, I made a machine, right? So he's got a little bit of his stuff left, right? So put him on this machine. I'm gonna take his radiation. I'm gonna radiate the crap out of myself, and then after I'm intelligent again, I'm going to make a machine that will pull Bruce Banner out of your head. And Grey Hulk is like, yes, let's get rid of Bruce Banner. That guy sucks. So he goes and he fights Rick Jones's Hulk. He captures him. He puts him on the table and he's like, there he is. Do it. And the leader's like, I'm going to do it. And he's totally successful except for a minor explosion. So there's a big explosion. Rick Jones and the Hulk live and they're like, oh, leader's dead. He's gone. And in reality, he escaped. He's got his full leader thing going on. He didn't want to get rid of Bruce Banner because Bruce Banner is pretty much the reason why the leader respects Hulk as he is. So he runs away, and his new goal, he's like, I want to become immortal. I got to figure out how to make reanimation a thing, and I don't need Hulk stopping me. So what I need to do is find someone to stop him. So he's like, hey, I've heard tell about this guy who goes by Half-Life, who runs around to these cities at nights, and he kills a bunch of people. He drains life force energy, and he sounds pretty interesting because he got the way he is because he is the quote-unquote survivor of a gamma bomb explosion caused by Bruce Banner. Sounds like the perfect person to fight the Hulk. So he gets this guy, and his whole thing is that he absorbs life energy. So he's like, hey, is Half-Life, attack! And he throws Half-Life at Hulk, and Half-Life's like, I'm gonna take you out, Hulk. And Hulk's like, I've got an awful lot of energy. Are you sure you want to try that? And Half-Life's like, absolutely. And he realizes that there's way too much energy from the Hulk, and the Hulk beats the living crap out of him and kind of rips him apart. So the way Half-Life works is he dies during the day, and he's resurrected at night. So the Hulk rips him apart so he doesn't resurrect. He can't do that anymore. The leader shows up, and he puts him back together in this kind of robotic suit of armor thing, and he puts a camera on him, and he sends Half-Life back to fight the Hulk, who, with the knowledge that Half-Life is going to lose, and in doing so, he is able to buy himself enough time to make his reanimation laser. In doing so, he uses his test subject on a very convenient corpse that's near him, being General Thunderbolt Ross, and he revives Ross into a living coma. So that's kind of where we see that's left off, and then he moves on and he hires the Hulk Busters and stuff to try to take the Hulk out, and it's a thing. So we see a lot, especially this time period, we see a lot of, oh, I'm just gonna keep screwing the Hulk over while I'm doing this thing over here, right? Watch the birdie. So anyway, that's sort of that bit. That's when he makes reanimation. I wanted to bring that up just because of reincarnation, such a big thing with X-Men recently. I know the current comics, I'm a little bit behind, so I know the current comics don't have that as such a central theme, but as of where I left off on current comics, that was such a big deal. The leader did it first. The Immortal Hulk! The Immortal Hulk is a very fun run of Hulk comics. It's very, very gritty, very dirty, and it's a lot to take in, but it's totally worth the run. Highly recommend it. I think in one of my recent streams we talked about the Immortal Hulk. So in the Immortal Hulk, the leader's role in the Immortal Hulk, the leader, his goal at this point is to live forever, and he catches something called a tiding fly from a different universe, which from a character named the Breaker Apart, which is the Hulk, but the one below all has taken over. So for context, in the Marvel universe, there is a god. There's like a one true god. I don't know what else to call him. There's essentially a highest power and a lowest power, right? So the highest power is the one above all, and the lowest power is the one below all. So the one above all essentially is Bruce Banner, and the one below all is Hulk, right? So the one below all is completely mindless, but when somebody takes the power of one below all, or gets possessed by the one below all, or whatever, they become immensely, immensely powerful, right? So he's essentially a mindless force of power, and then one above all is sentience, if that makes sense. So they're essentially a yin and yang they are the holders together of the universe. In all of the, we talk about, especially Frosty Features, we stick with Marvel 616, we talk about the different universes. There's only one above all, and there's only one below all. They are multiversal characters. They exist on all planes at the exact same time. There's a few characters that do, but in this case, these guys are the big ones. And so they play directly into the Mortal Hulk. And anyway, so the Tiding Fly is a way to pass messages. So the one below all possessed Hulk sends the Tiding Fly. He has destroyed his entire universe, and he's alone, right? Which is the goal of the one below all. The one below all wants to be the only thing existing, right? So there are universes where the one below all is the only thing in that universe. Their goal is to just take everything out. So the leader sees this, and the leader's like, well, if the one below all possesses everything, and the one below all, like, powers these things, I want to be a god, and I want to be, if I'm the only one in the universe, I am a god, right? So he's like, boom, love it, I'm going to become immortal, and I'm going to use the one below all to get my means. So with that, the leader develops a way to go to the below place, which the below place is where the one below all resides. And also, so this is, you're going to learn a lot about, if you don't know it already, you're going to learn a lot about gamma creatures. So the way gamma creatures work, when they die, they go to the below place. So we've got Earth, we've got Hell, we've got the below place. It's the farthest down you can go. It's below all levels of Hell. And the gamma monsters automatically go to the below place, and they wander this desolate wasteland until they find something called the Green Door. When they pass back through the Green Door, they are resurrected on Earth, which is how the gamma monsters keep coming back. That's how Hulk does it. But the thing is when they're in the below place and they walk through the door, they forget that it exists. The leader had passed through the door multiple times without knowing it because he died multiple times, but all he knew is he was coming back some kind of way. When he got the Tiding Fly from the Tiding Fly from the Breaker apart, he learned that the door actually exists as a physical place he could travel to. So with that, he figured out how to get there. So he went down to the below place, and he finds none other than Brian Banner. That would be Bruce Banner's father. And he's like, okay, he learns quick, and he finds the Green Door, and he realizes the only way to control the one below all, or to control the Green Door, is to achieve the goals of one below all. He needs Hulk. He needs Bruce Banner's Hulk because with Hulk being like the strongest gamma creation, he has the closest ties to the Green Door and the one below all. So he's the one that needs to be done. So in an effort to corrupt the Hulk, he gets Brian Banner, he possesses him, and he does this really, I was going to put it on here, but I feel like it's too graphic and I don't want to get it like limited, but he eats the mind of Brian Banner, and he possesses the body of Brian Banner so that he can kind of mess with the Hulk mentally. So with that, he does this, and he goes to Hulk, and one Hulk's trying to kill him, and the other Hulk, Savage Hulk, is like, no, let's not do this. And he's desperately trying to, so also for, I didn't say it earlier, another Hulk persona is Devil Hulk. Devil Hulk plays heavily into Immortal Hulk. Devil Hulk is the strongest form of Hulk. He's at max power, he's insane, and he's super scary looking. And I think he's introduced in this run. So anyway, with that, he gets the thing with Brian, and recently, the Hulk has become very popular because he beat a monster called Timu the Living Titan. Probably said the name out. Timu the Living Titan. And so the leader's like, all right, I know how to piss the Hulk off, and he shoots him with a gamma ray. This causes an explosion, and it kills a lot of people, which drives Bruce down a really, really dark path. And all these people die, and Gamma Flight responds. Gamma Flight comes in, so this is a team that is comprised of people that are made to fight Gamma monsters. And his goal was for Absorbing Man and Puck to incapacitate Hulk, which they do with with some sort of beam. And with that, and the ruse of Brian Banner, the leader is able to control the Hulk, and he appears to take him to the below place so that he can take him to the door. And so what he's trying to do is he's trying to hook up he ends up getting this to work, and he's trying to hook the Hulk up to essentially this machine that Brian Banner had that will drain the Hulk of gamma radiation, and it'll feed it to the one below all so he can do his thing. But it's not working, and he realizes the only way it's going to work, he actually picks it up from Brian's memories because he decided to think about it, is that he has to be possessed by the one below all, and he is not a god if the god is working through him, so he didn't want to do this. But then the one below all is like, too late, you're too close, and this is too awesome. So he possesses the leader, and the leader is working to get the Hulk to have these things happen. And all of a sudden, the Hulk personality kind of split. So we have Savage Hulk, Joe Fixit, and then we've got another character who Jackie McGee, who comes down. She is also a gamma person, but she shoots optic blasts. So these three are essentially trying to stop this one below all powered leader, and in doing so, that leader uses these crazy tendrils, takes control of the Hulk, and fights back against. So it's essentially the Savage Hulk versus the Joe Fixit, and they're having this big brawl, and Jackie McGee's having this big internal struggle with what's going on, and she ends up finding the power in herself, and she heavily blasts the leader, which frees Savage Hulk, and Savage Hulk and Joe Fixit are able to strip one below all from the leader, separate them, and they're like, okay, great, we're done. And Savage Hulk, remember the 5-year-old, he's looking, the one below all is the power of all the gamma creatures, right? All the gamma things are like its children. They draw their power from it, and the Hulk's screaming at the one below all, and he's like, why did you make me like this? Why am I like this? Please tell me why you've done this to me. Like, why do I gotta be me? And it doesn't respond. And the Hulk realizes, the Hulk, Banner, Joe Fixit, everybody, they realize that the one below all is a Hulk, right? It just is. And then all of a sudden, the one above all appears, because he's been watching this. He's like, this was pretty cool to watch. I was just kind of curious what's going on here. And he's like, and what you want to know why you are? Like, riddle me this, Hulk. Why are you like that? You freaking dude, right? You don't have to go around destroying all these things. You're making that conscious decision. And Hulk's like, oh crap, that's true. And he was like, good. Essentially, God comes down and be like, hey, stop being an a-hole, dude. And the Hulk's like, that's a good point. I should stop being an a-hole. And so God's like, the one above all, I don't need to keep calling him God. The one above all is like, hey, what are you going to do with the leader then? Are you going to kill him? Because he probably deserves to die. And the Hulk's like, no. I'm going to take his powers. And at this point, Hulk also has gamma radiation drain abilities. So he's like, no leader. We got Samuel Stearns again. He takes him back up to Earth, takes him through the green door. They go back to Earth, and boom, he's arrested. And that's where he's at right now as of the recording date, to my knowledge. All right. So power level. In Marvel Strike Force, they don't care about power level, but here at Frosty Features, we do. Now, the way this works, if you are a multiversal threat, you can topple the multiverse as it stands. Not just our reality, but all realities that exist. Universal means you are a threat to your reality, and then maybe could hop over to another reality and end that one by one. They all fall. Cosmic means that you are a threat on the small end on a planetary scale, and with enough time and effort, you can take out something like a galaxy or a solar system. Nuclear means you have power equal to that of a nuclear bomb, which can level things like small cities or up to a planetary body with enough time and force. Super Soldier means that you are beyond all capabilities of a human being. You can take out things like brick walls or even level a city block with enough time. City means that you are a human being that is trained to the absolute and utter top of the line capabilities of a human being, which means we have our mercenaries, our secret agents, some ninjas and stuff in the Marvel Universe at the city level. Greg is the undead Asgardian that's spawned by Hela in Marvel Strike Force and left to his own devices. Greg isn't worth anything. So, my argument here, due to undead Asgardian physiology, and just because I want to make the argument, if I am outside for some reason with a bag full of rubber band balls and a can-do attitude, and I run across Greg, and Greg wants to throw down, I theoretically, as a regular human being, could take Greg. So, with that, that's Greg. Greg, for our purposes, Greg is equal to that of an average normal human being. And in the case of the leader, we have some pretty impressive powers. We have some overhuman strength, right? So he's not Greg. He's not City, right? He is beyond that. So, but we do have somebody who constantly goes toe-to-toe with the Hulk, who is the base for my nuclear category. And being possessed by the one below all, we even have a character who could potentially topple realities, right? But as the leader stands on his own with the tech that he can create, with what he can do, I posit that the leader is at the cosmic power level. He is a threat on a planetary scale because of what he can create and what he can do and who he can control, right? So he is on the lower end of cosmic. I believe nuclear is definitely a better argument, but at the end of the day, he's easy to take out if you can get to him, but getting to him typically takes more than just the Hulk, right? So that's something very important to consider. Also, with his creation of the humanoids being something that can take on cosmic level beings like Thor, that's something that we have to very much consider in thinking about power level for the leader. So there is that. And then according to Scopely, okay, so I had a really tough time putting one of my ratings on this. All of it's right, but it's very, very basic. And you really don't learn anything about the leader, right? You know there was an accident and he becomes radiated, but you really they don't explain his powers exactly. They don't explain his intentions. They pretty much just say, hey, a guy worked at a factory and he became the leader. There he is. Now buy him. So I'm saying they didn't even try. It is what it is. And that was Frosty Features, The Leader. I hope that you all enjoyed it. I hope that that was entertaining. So please let me know in the comments your favorite moments with The Leader. Also, if I got anything wrong, I'd love to hear it one way or the other. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything but a couple of clicks. And as a reminder, I stream Sundays, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time at the link above, where we do Frosty Features live. I hope that you all have a fantastic weekend. Most importantly, y'all, stay cool.